Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be one that's been heavily requested. This is what you need to know before buying from Sabertrio. This is one that will apply to you who have been interested in Sabertrio since I've started talking about them on my channel. Probably going to be a little bit of a long video, but it's going to cover some important topics that you need to know and that we need to discuss before you pull the trigger on one of their sabers. So I've talked about Sabertrio in the past a lot. In my first ever video where I'm showing off sound fonts, that's a Sabertrio Vectra. As I talk about in my video about the top 5 lightsaber companies, I put Sabertrio at number 1, and that's for a variety of reasons, including their crazy good quality, their very good price, and especially their exceptional customer service. The best part about their customer service is that even after you buy the saber, even after you receive it, they still help you after. They're guiding you through processes on how to do certain things. They're helping you with any issues that you may have. If you need to have something repaired, if you need to have something checked or something like that, then they will help you after. They don't forget about you after you receive your saber or after you press order. I also show off my saber from Sabertrio, my Vectra, and some videos about Crystal Focus 10 and its feature set if you'd like to check out those videos as well. I want to do this video as Sabertrio is gearing up to reopen on Black Friday of 2020. I am trying to do this video as quickly as I can, but as thoroughly as I can, because I know it will cover a lot of interesting and important topics about Sabertrio and about their ordering and about their sabers and such. By the time you see this video, Sabertrio may have already reopened. This video may be 2 months, 3 months, a year old, something like that. They may have new hilts, they may have new whatever, but this video is valid as of the time of filming, so this is the week of Thanksgiving 2020. I did a pretty basic Q&A video about Sabertrio a long time ago. That was like my second or third ever video. The camera quality was pretty bad, the audio quality was pretty bad, and it didn't cover a whole lot of topics, so I wanted to redo this, but much more in depth, and especially about their website and about their sabers instead of just talking behind the camera showing my saber in front of me. So this is going to be a much more in-depth video about Sabertrio, about their sabers, about their accessories, about their ordering, all that kind of stuff. Towards the end of the video, I'll also be giving recommendations for their sabers for each price range, hilt style, electronics customization, electronics tiers, all that kind of stuff, sort of in the form of a preset. Things that I've created and I've customized to where you may be interested, so stick around for that. Also, definitely go check out Sabertrio's Instagram and Facebook. They post a lot of updates there, and I will be showing some of those right now as well. So 58 minutes ago from when I'm recording this, Sabertrio posted this. It's the post you've been waiting for, blah, blah, blah. There will be 2 events. Main store's reopening on their website, and the ready to ship event at our Etsy store. They didn't really want to use Etsy, but I think because of the server and all that kind of stuff, they'd rather just use Etsy for this. Both events will start exactly at 0900 EST. So Central Time, that's 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, that's 6 a.m., all that kind of stuff. I think this is just to make sure that people in Europe and in other countries have adequate time to do this and aren't doing it at like 4 a.m. or something like that, like they did last time. So the Ready to Ship event, this is one that many of you are probably interested in because you will get your sabers much faster. There are approximately 200 plus Ready to Ship sabers up for grabs. All Neo sabers come with mid-grade Neo blades, whereas all FX and Stunt sabers come with heavy-grade standard blades. A blade plug and cover tech clip is included with each saber. You don't have to buy that separately. The RTS sabers can be previewed in the post images. As every RTS saber is already packed and sealed, no further changes can be made to it. Lead time to ship is 7 working days. Kindly take note of supported payment methods for Etsy. Etsy's kind of weird about their payment methods, so please make sure you go do that before you go to buy because they do have different payment methods. Now the main store reopening at sabertrio.com on their main website. The main store will remain open for at least 24 hours, after which will continue to stay open unless the order limit of 1200 is reached. That may go faster than you think it will. Many people are interested in Sabertrio, and especially right before Christmas. If they've been watching my videos, Darth Koopa's videos, anybody who owns Sabertrio sabers and have been posting about it on Instagram or YouTube or Reddit or whatever, more and more people are putting their eyes on Sabertrio and are incredibly interested in them. So Sabertrio is going to have a lot of people coming their way, so make sure you're ready. Custom acid etched orders are limited to only 80 sabers and will increase the lead time of your order. As these sabers are made to order, lead time to ship is up to 16 weeks. Though you can expect to see us already shipping orders out on week 2 through our weekly production reports. We always do our absolute best to get these done much sooner than 16 weeks. I've rarely ever seen an order actually take 16 weeks unless it's like an acid etch saber that the customer isn't getting back to them on the design for, or something like that, and there's some kind of delay in the process. Every saber model and accessory, including a saber workbench, will be available. Blah blah blah, and you can see they've included some photos of some of the sabers that will be for the RTS sale. And one thing that you may notice, so right here it's the Aaron weathered, 546 US dollars. This is Neo, 546 US dollars, 546 US dollars. The Neo Arclight, 470, 466, 505. This is the Mira with a red tassel, which I'll mention in just a second. This is the Mira again, but with brown leather wrap and a brown tassel that might be black, but that looks more brown to me. This is the weathered Reaver, 544. Another Reaver, 517. All black Senza Dark Edition with the OLED screen and the shrouds, 592. Silver black Senza shrouds, OLED screen, 592. The Skylar Neo weathered gold button, 520. Skylar silver black, 491. Skylar silver black with a black button and a black CoverTech wheel, 516. Dark Edition Vulcan with a red switch, 519. Weathered Vulcan, red switch, 546. You can see, you can go through all these photos. They've included a bunch of photos of their ready to ship sabers, and they will be doing more of those soon. So if you'd like to skip ahead in the video, check out these timestamps. I'm going to put them up somewhere on the screen to where you can skip ahead and find exactly what you're looking for. I'll be covering a variety of topics in this video. So let's get started with one of the most common aspects about Sabertrio. One of the most common questions that I'll get is the different kinds of sabers that they offer regarding their electronics and the different tiers of electronics. But before I mention that, please make sure, if you're planning to buy on their website, the RTS sale on Etsy has a different payment method. Make sure you check that out. But Sabertrio's website, you have to use PayPal. So if you wake up early on Black Friday expecting to get a Sabertrio saber and you don't have a PayPal account, you are going to be out of luck until you get a PayPal account. So make sure you do that now. As soon as you see this video, if you're interested in Sabertrio, go make a PayPal account. So now that's out of the way, let's get started with the most basic, their stunt sabers. Sabertrio offers two separate kinds of stunt sabers. Those two kinds are AAA stunt sabers and 18650 rechargeable battery stunt sabers. The differences are basically just that. It's the battery usage. The AAA stunt batteries use 4 AAA batteries, and the rechargeable stunt sabers use an 18650 standard rechargeable battery. Personally, I'd recommend going with the rechargeable stunt battery. As you can see here, this is the basic configuration and is intended for use in saber combat classes, the AAA stunt saber. This is an entry-level configuration meant for casual fun and for taking cosplay photos. Keep in mind there'll be a $35 upcharge if you decide to choose the rechargeable stunt saber. That is for the different chassis that they have to use and the better battery setup. Both the AAA stunt and the rechargeable stunt use Delrin machined internal chassis, and they're very good, so they're perfect for dueling. Sabertrio stunt sabers do not change color. They're a single color saber, and you can choose from either of these 6 blade colors right here. So you can choose red, green, royal blue, and for a $5 upcharge for these 3, cyan, amber, or pink. That $5 upcharge is mainly due to the fact that these are specialty LEDs. These aren't super common LEDs, while red, green, and blue are pretty common. So just for the fact that it's a little bit more exclusive, that's why there will be a $5 upcharge for those. Personally, if you're going for the brightest and the fullest looking blade, I'd go with green or cyan. Amber is also another pretty good option. If you want to just max out the brightness across the blade, green is typically one of those colors that will absolutely do that. It's typically the brightest looking color, especially this type of green right here. Now, if you want to make sure you max out the brightness, you pair that with a mid-grade blade because the blade walls will be thinner. But if you want to duel, if you want to do some stunt work, make sure you get a heavy grade blade. That will make the blade a little bit less bright, but it will protect the blade better than a mid-grade blade. Not to say that the mid-grade blades aren't sturdy, they definitely are, but the heavy grade blades will absolutely make sure you give the most durability to that blade for stunt work and for dueling. And the stunt sabers also use an anti-vandal latching switch, not like a momentary switch like the rest of their sabers. So like I mentioned in the past, Sabertrio stunt sabers are among the best quality stunt sabers on the entire market. It's hard to find stunt sabers like this on the market that are this high quality with a really good chassis, with an 18650 battery, all that kind of stuff. And the hilt being that quality that it is. If you know Sabertrio, then you know their hilt quality is pretty good. Okay, so next up is their FX Sabers. I know many of my viewers are interested in NeoPixel tech that Sabertrio offers, but their FX Sabers are still excellent quality, and they may provide a really good value to you and to a large percentage of my viewers. You'll see what I mean in just a second. Their FX Sabers, like all their Sabers, use a Delrin chassis, meaning all of your electronics will be protected, including their standard rechargeable 18650 battery that's in the FX Saber. Now, in addition to being dual worthy and using an 18650 battery, these have sound. Sabertrio is partnered with Plector Labs currently, meaning that their FX Sabers come standard with a PICO CRUMBLE 2.5 soundboard. I accidentally misspoke in my video about the top 5 Saber companies by saying that they use a Nano Biscotti V4 soundboard. I'm sorry about that. That's actually the soundboard they used to use in their Neo Sabers a long time ago, but they actually use a PICO CRUMBLE 2.5 soundboard in their FX Sabers. The PICO CRUMBLE soundboard is limited to only one sound font, either light or dark. You can see it here, dark side or light side. And these are both by Lord Blako, and personally I like either sound font. Choose whichever you like. Honestly, there are videos out there that show both the light side and the dark side sound font. The FX Sabers do not come standard with smooth swing functionality. Keep in mind, these are not smooth swing sound fonts. The PICO CRUMBLE isn't a smooth swing soundboard, although they do definitely seem more responsive to swings than you'll see with some other companies in a typical budget FX Saber. And the speakers also definitely better here with Sabertrio than you'd see with some of those super cheap FX Sabers on the market. Unlike the Stunt Saber, the FX Saber does change colors, up to 15 different colors. Off the top of my head, I can think of Darth Paradigm's Illuminated Blades and Darth Revan, who both have videos about how to change the color on these FX Sabers from Sabertrio on their PICO CRUMBLE installed FX Sabers. And my dudes at Forged by Light also has some videos on Sabertrio's FX Sabers as well. The blade that's being used with these sabers is a bit more of a premium blade than you'd see with some of the super cheap sabers out there, especially these FX or these Stunt Sabers. With the FX Sabers, because of the sanding technique that Sabertrio uses on their blades, in tandem with a Tricrete LED, which the FX Sabers use, the blade is illuminated pretty nicely and it looks pretty bright and full. But like I mentioned with the Stunt Sabers, the brightness of the blade, that brightness term that I'm using, it's also dependent on which blade grade you use and also a little bit about the length. If you choose to get a mid-grade blade, the blade thickness, the wall thickness will be a little less than the heavy grade blade, so you'll have more light shine through. If you want maximum durability, definitely go heavy grade here. If you want the brightest and the most full blade, then definitely go with mid grade. There's not some huge difference in brightness, but it may be a bit noticeable if you're holding them side by side in person. That really won't be that easy to pick up on camera. Now, hidden in Sabertrio's FX Sabers is one of the things that I find to be one of the best options on their site. So say you're in the process of placing an order for an FX Saber and you haven't fully completed it yet, you haven't fully gone through the payment process. Click on the store tab, like you go to see the hilts and all that kind of stuff. Scroll down all the way to the bottom, you'll see a section called upgrades and add-ons. And what you'll see is this right here, FX Saber soundboard upgrade. So what this does for a charge of $85, which I'll get to in a second, this is for upgrading a Sabertrio FX Saber that is being ordered together or has already been ordered but not yet shipped. The Saber soundboard will be swapped from the PICO CRUMBLE 2.5 to the Crystal Focus 10. The blade LED of the Saber will remain the same, which is an in-hilt Tricrete LED. So you can choose right here, is the FX Saber meant for upgrade in the same order as this? So if you're ordering something and you haven't fully gone through the payment process, you click yes. And what's included, Crystal Focus 10 soundboard with a micro SD card. It's a 16 gigabyte micro SD card. A Delrin chassis for the Crystal Focus 10. It uses a little bit of a different chassis for the PICO CRUMBLE, a dome tactile auxiliary switch, that clicky auxiliary switch on the back of their Sabers, and a micro USB to USB cable. So if the FX Saber that you're planning to upgrade is not in the same order, so say you placed an order for an FX Saber and then a day later you're like, oh my gosh, I want to upgrade it to the Crystal Focus 10, you come back to this, you click no, and then you get the order number. So whichever order number they sent you in the email or whichever it is on your account or whatever, you put that in here and then you add to cart and it adds $85. But trust me, the Crystal Focus 10 already costs $85 as a standalone board. So this is actually really good value. There's really no upcharge in terms of the Crystal Focus 10 soundboard on Sabertrio's website. You're getting a new chassis, you're getting an auxiliary switch, you're getting a micro USB to USB cable, all that stuff for the same price as just a Crystal Focus 10 soundboard. So this is a really good value. So if you're like, what does the Crystal Focus 10 do that the PICO CRUMBLE can't do? There's a lot. So the PICO CRUMBLE only has one sound font. You can't change it to the other sound font. You can only pick one. The Crystal Focus 10 soundboard, you can have 150 plus fonts if you'd like. You also get the huge addition of Smooth Swing. If you don't know what Smooth Swing is, check out some of my recent videos. Smooth Swing is one of the biggest sticking points in terms of buying sabers for some people. It is that super responsive swing sound that actually follows where the blade goes when you swing the saber. There are also more sound effects and blade effects with the Crystal Focus 10, although the blade effects are limited to what an in-hilt LED saber can do. So the CFX board isn't actually being used to its fullest potential, but you're still getting a lot compared to the PICO CRUMBLE soundboard. So why am I even mentioning this? So like, who does this kind of upgrade apply to? This applies to people who aren't interested in the NeoPixel technology and they want Crystal Focus 10. They want smooth swing. They want a little bit better blade effects, all that kind of stuff, but they also want durability for dueling, for stunt work, and they just can't afford NeoPixel, or they don't want it because they are dueling. NeoPixel isn't really recommended for dueling, which I'll get to in a second. So if you're interested in smooth swing, but you want to duel or you can't afford a NeoPixel saber, this is probably the best other option besides NeoPixel on the market. You're getting smooth swing, you're getting addition of all these sound fonts, you have all these cool blade effects, all that kind of stuff with the Crystal Focus 10 soundboard upgrade for an FX saber. So next up is NeoPixel. Sabertrio uses the term Neo Sabers, but it's the exact same thing. NeoPixel, Neo, Plector Pixel, all that kind of stuff. It all means basically the exact same thing. NeoPixels are sabers that instead of having light shine up through the hilt, up the blade, there are LED diodes inside the blade itself. And that allows for much brighter blade, much better blade effects, localized blade effects instead of just through the LED shining up through the blade where it activates the entire blade as an effect. All these cool elaborate blade effects and that scrolling effect that you see up the blade that you can see right here. Compared to something like this, that just lights up the whole blade at one time. There's no scrolling effect. It just turns off and it turns on. This is a stunt saber. This isn't from Sabertrio, but you get the same point here. So Sabertrio's NeoPixel sabers, they're Neo sabers. They use the Crystal Focus 10 soundboard. And if you'd like to see what else the Crystal Focus 10 soundboard can do, check out some of my recent videos on those features and capabilities of the board. I haven't really recorded any new CFX feature guide videos recently. I need to do that, but I have many videos I'm trying to pump out and I'm pretty busy, so I can't really do that yet, but I will be doing some more of those in the future. I absolutely love my NeoPixel saber from Sabertrio. It's definitely the coolest thing that I've bought so far. I highly recommend Sabertrio's NeoPixel sabers to anyone who's interested in NeoPixel technology. They're some of the easiest to set up. They're some of the easiest to customize with that Crystal Focus 10 soundboard. And especially compared to like Profi soundboard installed sabers from other companies, that can get a little bit hairy when you're trying to customize things. Keep in mind, however, NeoPixel sabers are really not meant for dueling. Sabertrio does say with their NeoPixel sabers that they are suitable for dueling, but that is not a warranty. That is just a recommendation. They say their mid-grade Neo blades are suitable for medium contact dueling, and that their heavy-grade Neo blades are suitable for full contact dueling. However, these are not warranties. These are just suggestions and their opinions. So I wouldn't really duel with a NeoPixel blade. Remember, this isn't warranted, so if you go and beat this against a tree or something metal, something like that, and it breaks, that's not covered under warranty. An analogy that I like to use is this. So consider a stunt or an FX saber like a projector screen. The quality isn't the greatest, but the projector screen itself is more durable and can take damage, because projector screens are some kind of like felt material, and like say you punch a projector screen or something like that, it's going to have some give to it. Now consider a NeoPixel saber or a NeoPixel blade like a 4K TV screen. Exceptional quality, much higher definition, yet it's fragile. And taking enough damage to the screen can bust pixels and can make dead pixels. Most 4K TV screens now use like organic or quantum LEDs, and NeoPixel blades use pixel LEDs, so it's essentially the same thing, although the ones in the NeoPixel blades are like much larger diodes than what you see in a TV screen. But that's beside the point. Just think of it as FX and stunt sabers, they have give to the blade. NeoPixel blades are much more fragile because they have LED diodes and electronics inside the blade itself. When you break a NeoPixel blade, you basically bust that pixel LED or you snap the strip, meaning that everything following that broken spot dies and it basically renders the blade useless. And I've mentioned before, and you can see here, NeoPixel blades are not cheap to replace. Regular standard blades can be anywhere from like $20 to $50, but NeoPixel blades typically don't cost less than $80, and that's like the really cheap kind. Some quality NeoPixel blades are more along the lines of $100 to $120, $150. So you can see that if you do damage it, it will be pretty costly to replace. And I always recommend going with a heavy grade Neo blade anyway. When you go to order, it's only a $10 upcharge over the mid grade blade. And the reason why I say that is because these blades are so expensive normally. And if you need to replace it, if you go with a mid grade blade and it breaks for some reason, then you're going to really wish you got a heavy grade blade so your stuff would be more protected. I still wouldn't duel with a heavy grade NeoPixel blade just because they are so expensive to replace and because there are electronics inside that can snap. But if you really want to duel with a NeoPixel blade, what I'd recommend you doing is ordering a NeoPixel Saber from Sabertrio. And if you really want to duel with it, and remember, this is like if you absolutely have to, then I'd recommend getting a NeoPixel Saber from Sabertrio, opting for without a blade, which I'll mention in a second why you should consider that, and then getting a heavy grade NeoPixel blade from Bendu Armory. If you're in the United States, they're based in Idaho. They have warranted heavy contact, full contact dueling NeoPixel blades for their heavy grade Neo blades. Meaning, if you do damage the blade from dueling, that is covered under warranty. I don't mean to suggest a different company while mentioning Sabertrio in this video, but those are really basically the only NeoPixel blades on the market that are warranted. Sabertrios aren't warranted, but that's fine because that's kind of how it is with every NeoPixel Saber company. They really don't warranty their sabers except for Bendu Armory. So if you'd like to do that, then just go check those out. So before we get to the hilts and all that kind of stuff, let's talk about blades and accessories. So you go to blades and accessories here under store. Welcome to Sabertrio Store, the place where you can easily acquire fully working custom sabers, blades, and accessories. All transactions are handled securely via PayPal in US dollar. Don't get too concerned with this. PayPal converts money, converts currency. So if you're in Europe or something else, don't worry about that. It'll convert the currency. But make sure you have a PayPal account. Sabertrio offers two different grades of blade, mid-grade and heavy grade here. In both cases, for both the Neo blade and the standard heavy grade blade, the wall thickness is 3.2 millimeters or 0.13 inches. And for the mid grade, it's 1.8 millimeters or 0.07 inches. So it's about half. Sabertrio offers 4 different blade lengths. They offer 36.7 inches, 32 inches, 30 inches, and 24 inches. You can see the metric units here. I don't use metric measurements because I'm in the United States. I know, boohoo, whatever. But you can see those here, all the same wall thickness, but they are different lengths. This is a question that I've covered before in my Q&A about Sabertrio and in comments that I've gotten all the time. Which blade length should I get? Now, if you're talking about most accurate to the movie, it's 36.7 inches. If you want to get the best balance, then you really need to decide which blade length you need to go with. I am only about 5'9", so I'd recommend 32-inch blade. That's just for me in terms of balance, and in terms of length, I didn't want the blade to be too long because I don't have the longest arms in the world. So, but because of the length of my arms, it's hard to spin if I had a longer blade, and it would get quite heavy. So I actually have, for my Sabertrio Vectra, I have a heavy grade Neo blade in 32 inches. If you're under 6'2", then I'd recommend 32-inch blade. If you're over 6'2", I'd recommend 36.7. If you really needed something shorter than that, like a 28 or something like that, then go for it. But those started getting into the Shoto blade territory. So unless you really know what you need with Shoto blades and shorter blades, then I wouldn't recommend those. I'd recommend 30, 32 inches. Now, something else you need to consider when you're talking about blade length is the depth of the emitter socket for each saber hilt. So for example, the Aaron has a blade depth of 0.79 inches. The Arclight, Mira, and Skylar have a blade depth of 1.36 inches. The Reaver and the Senza have a blade depth of 1.93 inches, and the Vulcan and Vectra have a blade depth of 2.24 inches. So you can see that there's a wide variety of blade depth for those sabers. So essentially what that means is that when you have a 32-inch blade with Vectra, like what I have, it's essentially like a 30-inch blade on an Aaron due to the amount of blade that's actually coming out of the blade socket and the amount of blade that's actually in the blade socket in the emitter itself. So even so, with the blade depth and the blade length in tandem with the mid-grade or heavy grade, that plays a crucial role in the overall weight and balance of the saber. So like a 36.7-inch heavy grade blade will be really heavy, and a 30-inch mid-grade blade will be really light relatively. So if you plan on spinning and flow arts and all that kind of stuff, you may want to go with mid-grade. Also, that will give you the max brightness, although with Neo blades, you really won't see any difference in brightness. So moving on from actual blades is something related to it in blade plugs. Sabertrio does something pretty cool, which is they offer static blade plugs, as you can see here. There's 4 different kinds. I'll get to those in a second. And they also offer one of these things, which is called a Neo chip. And what this is it's a TCSS, the Custom Saber Shop. It's a PCB connector. And on the other side is 7 LEDs. And what you do is when you buy a Neo chip and when you buy a blade plug, you take the Neo chip. So this side right here, that little circular pancake looking thing, that goes downward into the hilt and connects to the pogo pins. And then this side goes up into the blade plug. So I actually have one. This is the Reactor Blade Plug Dark Edition. This one right here. And then the Neo chip on the bottom. This goes into the saber, and you can have your blade light up. Because of the way that the crystal focus tin is, you need some sort of pixel PCB connector or something connected touching the pogo pins, or you need something like a stock NeoPixel PCB, but Sabertrio doesn't use those, so you can use these right here. They have 4 different blade plugs: Reactor Blade Plug Silver Black, Blade Plug Dark Edition, this one here, the brass pin blade plug silver black, and the brass pin blade plug dark edition. I find all of them to be pretty attractive. I just like the dark edition because it matched my Vectra, because my Vectra is a dark edition. But you also need to pay attention to this blade plug length: 20 millimeters, Aaron 35.4, 34.5 Arclight Mira and Skylar, and the rest here with the Reaver, Senzo, Vulcan, and Vectra. You need to select an option when you go to buy one for your Saber. If you get a 57mm one for your Aaron, it will not fit. It will be sticking out about that much through the emitter, and it will not look good. So make sure you buy the correct blade plug length for your Saber. So moving on from blade plugs, let's move on to some of the miscellaneous things here. Sabertrio started offering what they call their Saber Workbench in both Silver Black and Dark Edition. I think these are incredible. They look amazing, and they're pretty reminiscent of what you'd see in the video game Jedi Fallen Order. These will be available through Sabertrio's website and maybe through their RTS sale. I'm not sure about the RTS thing yet, but they will be available on their site when they reopen. They are a bit on the pricier side at $99 US, but they are some of the nicest saber stands that I've ever seen. Typically, you'd see clear acrylic kinds or something that are like $10. This is not that. This is fully machined aluminum. This is incredible. Sabertrio also offers saber hold bags. As you can see here, they have 2 different kinds: their Rebel Edition and their Dark Edition. These can hold multiple hilts and blades and all that kind of stuff. So if you are interested in carrying around your sabers, then this is a great option. So one of the cool things about Sabertrio is, although they don't use standard MHS or modular hilt system sizing, their pommels are all interchangeable. As you can see here under pommels and couplers, you can buy a pommel from any saber, with the exception of the Senza. That may change in the future, I'm not sure, but they don't have it listed here. And you can buy a pommel for any of these sabers and attach it to your saber. So that's really cool in my opinion. It really gives you some added customization for your saber. They also sell couplers, as you can see here, Silver Black and Dark Edition. You can also have them weathered if you'd like. And what this does is, if you buy 2 of their sabers, you buy one of these couplers and you can attach 2 of the sabers together to form a saber staff or a double-bladed saber. Also, another cool feature is if you buy the Mira pommel, either Silver Black or the Dark Edition or the variants of the 2, you can come down here to pommel tassels, and you can see there's 4 different kinds of tassels here. Although Sabertrio has been showing and teasing and telling people that they will have other options for these pommel tassel colors for their store soon. These are removable. If you buy the Mirror pommel, then you can buy one of these tassels, attach it to the bottom, and you can take it off whenever you want if you don't want to keep it on there, but it is another decorative piece for your hilt. They also offer a smart charger. You don't need to buy one of these. If you buy one of their sabers, it comes with it. And they also offer a CoverTech belt clip for your CoverTech wheel. You can buy that if you want. I don't need one of those, so if you want to carry around your hilt on your hip, then go for it. Buy a CoverTech belt clip, and you can wear it like a real Jedi or a Sith. The really cool thing about Sabertrio's smart chargers is they offer different plug heads. They include all of these in the box when you buy one of their sabers. Doesn't matter if you're from the US and Canada, all that kind of stuff. They're going to include all these different kinds in the box as well. So this is the part a lot of you are probably watching this video for. This is probably what you're waiting for, and it's the different hilt designs and pricing for Sabertrio. At the time of filming this video, Sabertrio offers 8 different hilt designs, but they have other hilt designs currently in the works. They don't have them out yet. They're not going to open them up for Black Friday. This will come in the future, but they do have some pretty cool designs in the works, including some that may be canon inspired, if that rings a bell. I'm going to start off with the different hilts and their prices first. Then I'm going to talk about the different types of hilt customizations that you can do to each one. Then I'll talk about shipping, which is one that many of you have a question about. So let's start off with the cheapest and then work our way up. I'll give the prices in US dollars for each electronics tier of each hilt, and then I'll discuss the hilt itself. At the end of the segment of this video, I'll provide a full overview of all the prices of each hilt and each electronics tier customization, all that kind of stuff, so you can screenshot that. All of these prices will include the saber with a mid-grade blade. All of these prices are the saber's subtotal before shipping, which is something that I'll mention later as well. So the cheapest saber they offer currently is the Arclight in the stunt configuration. The AAA battery version for the saber starts it off at $79. The rechargeable 18650 battery version is $114 US. The FX version is $245. The FX version with a Crystal Focus 10 soundboard upgrade, like I showed earlier, is $330 US, which is the cheapest in-hilt dueling capable Crystal Focus 10 installed saber that I've ever seen. And the NeoPixel version is $399 US, which is also the cheapest CFX NeoPixel saber that I've ever seen. At this price range, however, that Crystal Focus 10 installed FX Saber, like I've mentioned, the jump from that to the NeoPixel is only $70, so that's really not a bad deal. If you really wanted to upgrade, $70 is like insane, so I would definitely recommend the Neo over the Crystal Focus 10 upgraded FX Saber unless you really want to duel. The Arclight's a fairly basic design, but it's comfortable, it's ergonomic, and it's really easy to handle and spin. If you have smaller hands, this is probably the hilt for you, because if you look at the sizing, full length 260 millimeters or 10.25 inches. The average diameter around the hilt 37 millimeters, which is 1.45 inches, and the weight is only 360 grams, which is 0.8 pounds. So that's a really small, really light saber. Lightsaber. So now remember, we're going in terms of lowest to highest price. Next up is the Mira. The AAA battery stunt version is $99 US, starting it off with the Mira. The rechargeable 18650 battery version is $134 US. The FX version is $259 US, and the FX version with the Crystal Focus 10 upgrade is $344 US, with the NeoPixel version, the Neo Saber version, being $429 US. The Mira is another really light hilt, and it's really great for spinning as well. Very basic design, curved emitter, which is always nice. And this is the hilt that you can attach a decorative tassel to on the bottom of the pommel. Like I mentioned earlier, they will be offering more tassel colors and stuff in the future. So in terms of sizing, the length of the hilt, 264.5 millimeters or 10.4 inches. The average diameter around the hilt, 35 millimeters or 1.37 inches. And the weight, 340 grams or 0.7 pounds. So moving along, next up is the Skylar. The AAA battery stunt version for the Skylar is $119 US. The rechargeable 18650 battery stunt version is $154 US. The FX version is $275 US. The FX version with the Crystal Focus 10 upgrade is $360 US, and the Neo version is $449 US. And keep in mind, all of these prices are without any further customization. This is just the base hilt. The Skylar is another one of those really comfortable ergonomic hilts, and it also has a slanted emitter. I know many of you are interested in that kind of slanted emitter design since the first time you saw one in Attack of the Clones or whatever movie that you saw it in. This is probably one of my favorite designs, if not the most favorite design of their cheaper hilt selection. So in terms of sizing, the length, 289.5 millimeters, 11.4 inches. The diameter, 36 millimeters or 1.42 inches, and the weight is 400 grams, 0.9 pounds. Another really nice sized hilt. So moving right along is the Aaron. The AAA battery stunt version for the Aaron is $145 US. The rechargeable 18650 battery version is $180 US. The FX version is $299 US. The FX version with a Crystal Focus 10 upgrade is $384 US. and the NeoPixel version is $475 US. The Aaron is a thin neck design reminiscent of Luke's second saber or Obi-Wan's thin neck saber. It has a brass thin neck here, and it looks unreal in the dark edition or weathered. That contrast right here looks absolutely gorgeous. Typically, thin neck sabers are not recommended for dueling because of the thin neck design itself. However, because they use brass, Sabertrio does say you can duel with it. So in terms of the dimensions, the full length 285 millimeters or 11.2 inches, the average diameter 36 millimeters or 1.42 inches, and the weight is 500 grams or 1.1 pounds. Now this is the territory where I would start not recommending going stunt configurations because of price. It starts to get a little higher with the stunt sabers for these hilts. This is where the FX upgraded with Crystal Focus 10, or the Neo Sabers start to become the better value. And you'll see more of what I mean by that when I start talking about the other hilts. But by all means, if that's all you can afford, then go for it. If that's all you want, go for it. This is just me giving you suggestions. So next up is the Valken. The AAA battery stunt version for the Valken starts it off at $145 US. The rechargeable 18650 stunt version for the Valken is $180 US. The FX version is $299 US. The FX version with a Crystal Focus 10 upgrade is $384 US, and the NeoPixel version is $475. It's the exact same as the Aaron. The Valken is definitely the most aggressive looking hilt design that they have. The octagonal emitter section right here with these vented windows in the emitter is just definitely one of the coolest designs that I've seen on a saber on the market. It's really unique, and it's just so angular and menacing, especially when the blade is red. Go check out my buddy Sims Nerd's video about his Sabertrio Vulcan. His reaction to the Vulcan when he first took it out of the box is the same reaction I had when I first saw a picture of the Vulcan. So the dimensions, the full length 287 millimeters or 11.3 inches, the average diameter 36 millimeters or 1.42 inches, and the weight is 380 grams or 0.8 pounds. Now on to the first Sabertrio saber that I ever saw, which is the Reaver. The AAA battery stunt version is $145 US. The rechargeable 18650 battery stunt version is $180 US. The FX version is $299 US. The FX version with a Crystal Focus 10 soundboard upgrade is $384 US, and the NeoPixel version is $475 US. So this is the exact same pricing as both the Aaron and the Vulcan. So the Reaver, just like the Vulcan, this is one that has like a Sith dark aura about it with these claws. The claws are removable, as you can see here, with hex keys, but I don't actually recommend removing them because the hilt doesn't look as good without the claws. I mentioned in my video about the best looking custom lightsabers that the Reaver with the silver claws is one of the best looking custom lightsabers that I've ever seen. That is not a thing that they typically do. That was kind of a one-off thing, and it looks really good. I'm not exactly sure if they'll do that for you if you ask, but it is something to keep in mind. If you are interested, you may be able to ask them, but I doubt they'll do it for a bunch of people because that will increase lead time for your saber. So talking about the dimensions, the full length 300 millimeters, 12 inches, average diameter 36 millimeters or 1.42 inches, and the weight is 390 grams or 0.8 pounds. Now next up is their newest saber at the time of filming, which is the Senza. The AAA battery stunt version is $145 US. The rechargeable 18650 battery stunt version is $180. The FX version is $299 US. The FX version with the Crystal Focus 10 soundboard upgrade is $384 US, and the NeoPixel version is $475 US. The base Senza is the same price as the Aaron Vulcan in Reaver. Notice I said base Senza right there. That's an important point that I'll mention in just a second. The Senza is one that is really good for spinning and flow arts, all that. As you can see here, the saber has 3 different choke points on the hilt and is really comfortable, very ergonomic, all that kind of stuff. Sabertrio considers this one of their sports sabers. The Senza also has one of the coolest features I've ever seen on a saber, so stay tuned for that in just a second when I mention hilt customization. So the dimensions, full length without the shroud, 296 millimeters or 12 inches. Average diameter, 36 millimeters, 1.42 inches. Most of these are 1.42 inch diameter sabers. And the weight without the shroud is 420 grams or 0.9 pounds. And last but certainly not least, my baby, the Vectra. The AAA battery stunt version is $199 US. The rechargeable 18650 battery stunt version is $234 US. The FX version is $325 US. The FX version with a Crystal Focus 10 soundboard upgrade is $410, and the NeoPixel version is $499 US. The Vectra is kind of where I meant that it's probably not worth it to get the stunt or the rechargeable stunt versions because of the price. It does inflate a bit when it comes to these higher tier hilts. So it's probably more worth it to go for the FX or the FX upgraded or the NeoPixel versions, and that's just in my opinion. So the Vectra is the hilt that I currently own. I only have one Sabertrio saber as of right now, but it was the first saber that I ever bought, besides those little cheap plastic ones that you used to get as a kid from Walmart. When I was originally ordering my Vectra, I actually meant to go with brushed or mirrored silver, and I accidentally clicked Dark Edition. I was rushing so fast to get one that I accidentally clicked it, and I didn't realize until after. But now that I have the saber and I've had it for a while, I really have come to like the Dark Edition finish of this saber. It's really nice. It feels comfortable. This hilt is incredibly comfortable. This grip section here, very nice. This choke point right here is incredibly nice, and I just love this. As you can see here, this hilt has a few nostalgic callbacks to some of the movies. Right here, you can see this afterburner style emitter on both the pommel and the emitter. This kind of reminds me of Anakin's pod racer in the Phantom Menace. Just think about fire or something coming out of this side right here, and it looks like an afterburner. Also, in these vented windows right here, in these little sections around the hilt, there are these little designs that look just like these windows or these light bars or lights or whatever they are in the halls of the Death Star and in a few ships of the original and the sequel trilogies. That's just a few awesome references that I've noticed on this hilt, and it's really cool to see that. So in terms of dimensions, the length 297 millimeters or 11.7 inches, the diameter 36 millimeters, 1.42 inches again, and the weight is 420 grams and 0.9 pounds. So this hilt feels very, very good. It feels very balanced, and I highly recommend this hilt to anyone who's interested. So as you can see here, I'll show a full pricing list for every single hilt, for every single electronics customization. And remember, this is just the base hilt. This is just with the brushed silver or the dark edition hilt customization. The others have an add-on, which I'll mention in just a second. So now on to hilt customization. So what's a saber without a bit of flair, right? So the first two things that I'll mention about hilt customization are things that are exclusive to two hilts only. The first being one that I've mentioned already, which is the mirror and the tassels. That's actually exclusive to the mirror's pommel, so I guess it's not exactly exclusive to the mirror, but you get what I'm saying. At the time of reopening, Sabertrio will offer different colored tassels, so be on the lookout for that. Another thing Sabertrio will be offering, it won't be on their site right now as you're looking at it today, but it will be available in the future, is leather wrapping. I don't know too much about it. I don't know the pricing, anything like that, but Sabertrio has been showing that and teasing that in their photos and has said that they will be offering that in the future. And the next exclusive thing is one that is fully exclusive to one hilt, which is the Senza. So as you can see here, this is the Senza, this is the base hilt, but if you go to configure the hilt and the saber, and you can scroll down and see some of the customizations, you can see two separate things that you won't see on any other hilt, which is the emitter shroud and the OLED screen. So the emitter shroud, you can choose to have included emitter shrouds, so this is what the base emitter looks like on the saber, and you can add shrouds to have that sort of Jedi Fallen Order effect from the video game. These also are a $25 add-on to the hilt, and also the OLED screen. So you can actually swap the side of the switch box, which looks like this normally, and you can add an OLED screen. You can play video games. I'm not even joking. You can play games on it. You can see the names of the sound fonts. There's menu selection, all that kind of stuff. It's a really cool feature if that's something you're interested in. And that is a $50 upcharge, but it really is worth it. So what about the actual hilt color and the finish, all that kind of stuff? So Sabertrio actually offers 4 different hilt finishes. It really is 5, but I'll get into that in just a second. The first being brushed silver black. There's mirrored silver black, where it's all polished looking and it's shiny. There's dark edition, which is what I have. It's a full matte black anodized across the hilt. And there's weathered, which, as you can guess, it's dark edition, but it is weathered. The mirrored silver black and the weathered, because they are specialty, are a $25 upcharge. Now the other kind of hilt finish is custom acid etched. This is one that isn't really standard, but it is something you'll need to talk to Sabertrio about. The $150 add-on price may sound steep, but it really is worth it. I've shown pictures of Sabertrio's custom acid etched sabers in the past. They are one of a kind. You actually are personalizing this 100% for yourself. You meet with Sabertrio's design team. You ask them if they can do certain things for you. They'll try to do it for you. If they can't, then they can't. But if they can, they definitely will do it, and it will be incredible. You truly make a one-of-a-kind saber. All of these designs are designed by you, and it's done by Sabertrio, and it's absolutely incredible. Just keep in mind that this will increase the lead time significantly for your saber. And as I mentioned earlier, Sabertrio is limiting the amount of custom acid etch sabers for their Black Friday reopening to 80. So let's just talk about what the parts of each hilt are that you can customize when you go to configure a saber and buy one on Sabertrio's website. So obviously the first thing you'll see that it'll prompt you for is the configuration or the electronics tier. So let's just pick whichever one. Let's just go with Stunt Saber for now, and I'll show you why in a second. So Saber Hilt color and finish. This is where brushed silver and mirrored and all that kind of stuff come into play. Let's just go with brushed silver. Blade color. For Stunt Sabers, there's only one blade color, so you can just choose. Like I mentioned earlier, let's just go with green or something. Blade grade, blade length. This is where you can choose the blade length and the blade grade as it suggests. Mid grade, heavy grade, the different blade lengths. Let's just go with 32-inch heavy grade. And then you can choose blade tip. There's an interesting one right here, parabolic blade tip. This is more accurate to what you see in the movies. It's a little bit of a pointed tip. And there's round blade tip, which is better for durability, so the blade tip doesn't fly off. Parabolic blade tip shouldn't fly off, but sometimes it can because of the way it's machined. But round blade tip is what you should go for if you plan to do any stunt or heavy dueling work. Next thing is activation switch. For the stunt, it's a large 16mm anti-vandal latching switch. So you can just choose whichever color right here, silver, black, gold, or red. Gold and red carry an upcharge of $2. Let's just go with silver for now. CoverTech wheel. You can choose the color of the CoverTech wheel, brushed silver, mirrored silver, black, black weathered, or brass. If you're going with a dark edition or a weathered saber, I actually recommend going brass instead of the black weathered to have that stark contrast between the dark hilt and that super bright brass. Now, if you're customizing a Neo Saber or an FX Saber will look a little different. This is for Neo. Let's just pick a Neo Saber blade, 32-inch mid-grade, activation switch. The FX and the NeoPixel Sabers use momentary switches instead of latching switches. So activation switch, let's just choose silver again. And then you can see there's another option for activation switch, and that's for illumination. You can opt to have it non-illuminated, which has no upcharge. It'll stay the same price. You can have it illuminated red, green, blue, white, amber, or purple. These illuminations add an upcharge of $2. Let's just choose non-illuminated for now. CoverTech wheel stays the same. You have blade plug and Neo chip if you're going a Neo Saber. If you are looking for stunt or FX, you don't just say blade plug because you don't need a Neo chip for those sabers. I'm not going to choose one. And then CoverTech clip. If you need a CoverTech clip, get one. If you don't, you don't have to. For both of these, you can choose not to buy one. So these are all the current customizations you can do their configuration on their store. They will be adding more in the future, especially with the pommel and the tassel. It's not currently on their website as I'm filming this, but they will add that in the future. Now keep in mind what's in the box. A fully assembled custom saber with the battery, a saber blade with the selected length and grade, all necessary hex keys, and spare retention screws, and a smart charger. Unlike some other companies out there, they may charge you for hex keys, they may charge you for a charger, they may charge you for spare retention screws, they may charge you extra for all these kind of things. Sabertrio doesn't do that. They include all of these things right here, included with all of these things you select at this price right here before shipping. There's no hidden fees in there or anything like that. You don't have to buy anything extra except for what's on this configuration page. Now, there is a way to reduce both the overall cost of your saber and the shipping time with Sabertrio. The way to do that is to opt for no blade when you configure your saber. Now, if you're thinking, wait, I need a blade, let me explain that before you just write off what I just said. So say you're going for the bare minimum price, which like I mentioned earlier is $79 for a AAA stunt saber with the Arclight hilt, right? Let's put that to the test. So saber configuration, let's go AAA stunt saber, obviously. Hilt color and finish, let's go for the ones that don't have an upcharge, so either brushed silver black or dark edition. Let's just go brushed silver black. Blade color, as you can see here, let's just pick one of them. Green, again, not one that has an upcharge if you're trying to go bare minimum price. Blade grade, blade length. Instead of choosing the blade grade and blade length that you like, go right here, do not include blade. Selecting this option will deduct $10 from the saber's total price, and it will be packed into a smaller box for shipping. Click on that. Activation switch, go with one that doesn't have an upcharge. CoverTech wheel, blade plug, you don't need all that. CoverTech wheel, just go with another one that doesn't have an upcharge. Blade plug, CoverTech clip, $69. So just there, I shaved $10 off this price. And before I resolve that issue you have with no blade now, let's do the same thing with a NeoPixel Saber to really see the difference. So for saber configuration, we're going to go Neo Saber here. Hilt color and finish, same thing. Let's just go with the same thing for everything, just to keep it simple. Neo blade length, blade grade, do not include Neo blade. Selecting this option will deduct $89 from the Neo Saber's total price, and it will be packed into a smaller box for shipping. Activation switch, let's just go silver again, keep everything simple. Silver activation switch, non-illuminated. Cover tech wheel, let's just go normal again, $320. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the cheapest arc light is $399. You don't include a blade and it's $320. Now, keep in mind for NeoPixel Sabers, you do need either a blade or a NeoChip style blade plug to make the NeoPixel Saber work. If there's nothing coming in contact with those pogo pins, like a NeoChip or a blade, it will not work. It won't turn on. Now, please don't think that I'm trying to dissuade you from buying Sabertrio's NeoPixel blades or their standard blades or anything because I think they're bad or something. They're definitely not. Sabertrio has some of the highest quality blades on the market, especially from a Saber company. There are Saber companies out there that have really poor blades. I'm not going to mention who they are. Just know that that is an option. Sabertrio would not include this option if they didn't think it would benefit the customer. They know that sometimes shipping can get crazy, both in shipping time and in shipping costs to different countries. To America, shipping is pretty expensive, which I'll get to in a second. So they included this option to not include a blade for that reason. So if you just did that same process of not including a blade with a stunt or an FX saber, these sabers use 1-inch diameter standard blades that allow light to shine up from the LED module inside the hilt. There's a huge market out there for those type of blades, and they're probably the most widely available blades on the market. You just need to find one that fits, one that works for you, one is a good price and from a quality company, and it's preferably a domestic seller so you can get it quickly and with cheap shipping or free shipping. You'd probably be looking for a trans white 1-inch diameter standard blade with either a parabolic or rounded tip. There are some out there that are custom blades like ripper blades that are different colors, that are day blades or all that kind of stuff. But if you don't really care about that, then just get a trans white blade with a 1-inch diameter. Most of my viewers are from the United States, and one of the best domestic blade sellers is Bendu Armory. They currently have their light and heavy grade blades at $99 at the time of filming, and that is a really good price, and they're excellent blades. Literally, as I'm filming this video, I had to stop a few minutes ago, and I'll have to cut and edit it so you won't see that. But I did get the package from Bendu Armory. I got one of their light NeoPixel blades. I wanted to test it, and I'm getting a new saber in the future, so I needed to get a blade. So I went with Bendu Armory, and I'll be able to compare the two blades between Sabertrio and Bendu Armory. Bendu Armory also sells a heavy grade Tri-Cree blade for $27.95. I don't know too much about it because there's like no pictures or anything, but I do know that Bendu is a very reliable company, so I do really trust them. But Bendu Armory does do something really cool. They warranty their heavy grade blades for dueling, including their NeoPixel blade. I didn't buy one of their heavy grade NeoPixel blades because I didn't need one, but I bought one of their mid grade NeoPixel blades, and it is warranted for dueling if you get the heavy grade blade. So if you're looking for a Sabertrio saber and you really can't afford to have them ship the saber with the shipping costs and the lead time and all that kind of stuff, then buy the Sabertrio hilt without the blade. Get a Bendu Armory blade if you're living in America because it's domestic, or get it from somewhere else that it really has a high quality blade, and you can save some cost on shipping and on total price for your Sabertrio saber. It's a really strange workaround, but it is an option if you're interested. Trust me, Sabertrio would not offer this option if they didn't know people were going to do that, if they didn't know that people were going to save money on shipping costs through them, all that kind of stuff. They know that. They're based in Malaysia. They know that shipping costs are crazy. With the way things are going today in the world, that things can get crazy. So it is an option if you are interested. Sabers with a Z is another option. I've seen other members of the lightsaber community recommend their standard blades as well. Their standard blades are only $35. I'll leave links to both of these stores in the description below if you want other suggestions. Check out the R Lightsaber subreddit for more opinions on quality blades. So now I've mentioned how to reduce shipping cost and time, but what about the regular shipping cost and time for Sabertrio if you don't plan to do all that workaround stuff that I mentioned? Now, this is going to cover a saber that is not included in the ready to ship sale that Sabertrio will do on Black Friday. Like I mentioned, the shipping time for that is going to be a week or less because it is ready to ship. This is just talking about the regular store and how they operate with their regular store. So if you're going to purchase a saber with a blade and have it shipped to the US, shipping costs will be about $46 or so, maybe a little less, but it'll be about that from Malaysia to the United States. It is really expensive for shipping. That's kind of the nature of things, and this is why Sabertrio said that you can include your sabers without a blade to save on the shipping costs and time and all that kind of stuff. This expensive shipping cost is pretty common for all saber companies. It is highlighted right here because Sabertrio is one of those companies that a lot of people are interested in, and a lot of people freak out about the shipping costs, but that applies to like all the companies out there. I've bought Sabers that have 35 plus, 40 plus US dollar shipping costs, and that's from super cheap budget companies before. So that kind of just depends. I'm not too sure of the shipping costs to Europe or Australia or to anywhere else, to the UK. I do know that a lot of European countries, and especially in the UK, there are some import duties and taxes that are insane, customs and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really know about all that. That is something that you'll have to look into or maybe ask Sabertrio about. But that's really something that you have to consider when you're buying sabers, is that shipping will cost quite a bit. Shipping time is one of Sabertrio's strong suits actually, so that's really good, both in production time, in the time it makes to take the saber from when you place the order, and in shipping time, the actual shipping time from when they give the box to DHL to when it actually reaches your door. Production time, they say, can last anywhere from 4 to 16 weeks on their site. However, it really never lasts that long to 16 weeks unless you have like a custom acid etch saber and there's delays because you're not getting back to them or something like that, or if there's some delays because of the current world events. As you all know, any shipping time for anything that you buy on the internet can be affected by the current world events. So just keep that in mind. Once it leaves Sabertrio's hands, it usually takes 3 to 5 days to get to you with DHL. They typically ship on Fridays. They've been changing that here and there. Sometimes they'll ship it out on a Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. And you'll typically get it on the next Tuesday or Wednesday. So 3 to 5 days. If you have any questions about the production time, how many sabers they're pumping out every week, all that kind of stuff, they always update that on their Instagram and Facebook every single week. They've been doing that the entire year. If you want to go check it out, Facebook is probably their ultimate place where they update things. They typically do Facebook before they do Instagram, although they've been doing some of the production updates and stuff on Instagram as well. But check out their Facebook. It's not a closed group or anything like that. You don't even need a Facebook account to keep up with it. You can just go to their page and read their updates. The best thing I recommend to do is once you place an order for a saber, set it and forget it. It will take a toll on you mentally if all you do is sit there and refresh and wait to see if you got that email, if they shipped your saber. Trust me, this happens with every saber company. People spend every waking second waiting for that email, waiting for that update, waiting for that text update or whatever. Trust me, just set it and forget it. Just place the order, forget you placed the order, and just be surprised when you finally get that email. You will torture yourself if you just sit there every single day and wait for that email. It will come faster than you think it will. Trust me. That's just a trick that I've learned after buying lightsabers and after talking with people in the community. So just to have a little fun with it, I'm going to throw in a few of my presets. These are designs that I've custom made. These are their base hilts with different customization combinations, all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to throw in a few just to have some fun with it. Maybe if you can't decide which hilt you want, or maybe you can't decide which customization you want, maybe this will spark a little bit of your interest and imagination. I think these are pretty good, and I'm also going to throw in the price before shipping as well. So the first one I'm going to start off with is called Dark Royalty, and this starts off with the Aaron Hilt. We're going to go with Saber Configuration Electronics Tier Neo Saber. We're going to go with Saber Hilt Color and Finish. We're going to go with Weathered here. You can go with Dark Edition, that'll knock $25 off the total price. Doesn't matter, but I'm going to go with Weathered. Neo Pixel Blade Length, Neo Pixel Blade Grade. I'm just going to go with 32-inch heavy grade Neo Blade because that's what I like. Activation switch here. We're actually going to go with gold. It's a $2 upcharge. Gold activation switch. We're going to go with no illumination just to keep it clean. Cover tech wheel. We're actually going to go with brass. And then blade plug Neo chip, don't need it. Cover tech clip, don't need it. That brings the total price to $514 before shipping. The reason why I went with brass cover tech wheel and gold activation switch is that when you see the dark edition Aaron or when you see the weathered Aaron, as you can see here, it won't let you customize the actual buttons and stuff in the pictures, but you can see here the brass section here in contrast with the rest of the hilt, this dark edition, this weathered, it has this stark contrast and looks really good. Now add a gold switch here and a gold cover tech wheel, that brass cover tech wheel, and it has a really nice contrast in my opinion. I call it dark royalty because the hilt's dark and the gold accents royalty. You see what I'm getting at here. The next one is one that I call Scepter, and it's going to be using the Reaver hilt. Once again, we're going to go with Neo. Saber hilt color and finish, we're going to go with Dark Edition. Neo blade length, Neo blade grade, all that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter. I'm going to just go with the 32-inch heavy grade Neo blade again. Activation switch. Here I'm actually going to go with red. It's a $2 upcharge. Now keep in mind, when you do red activation switch, it won't let you illuminate the switch. Not sure why that is. There may be an error on their website, but just know that right now you can't customize it to do that. CoverTech wheel, we're going to go with brushed silver here, just to have a bit of contrast. Blade plug, Neochip, don't need it. CoverTech clip, $487 US for this preset. I call it Scepter because there are claws on the pommel and the emitter, and I just really like the way the Reaver looks, and the Dark Edition has a really cool Sith aura about it. Now, alternatively, and remember this is a really truly custom thing, Sabertrio doesn't do this for anyone, but if you could find a way for them to do this Dark Edition hilt, with the red activation switch and the brushed silver CoverTech wheel, and somehow get them to do that mirrored silver claws like I mentioned in the past, that would be incredible. That would be one of a kind saber, and it would look really good. I went with the red activation switch here to have that cool Sith aura embedded into the saber. You could also go with a black or silver or a gold activation switch and have a red ring illuminated around the switch, and that would look really cool as well. Also on this one, you can go with the custom acid etching here. It would bring the price up quite a bit, but it would be really nice to see this one with some ancient Sith runes and crypts and hieroglyphics and all that kind of stuff on the hilt. That would make this one of a kind. It would look awesome. Next up is a preset that I call Phasmatic, and it's going to be using the Vectra hilt. Once again, we're going to go with the Neo Saber configuration. Saber hilt color and finish. We're going to go with mirrored silver black this time, and you'll see why. So brushed silver black, you can see how it looks. That's just standard. And then watch what happens when you turn it to mirrored silver black. Look how shiny that thing is. That looks so cool. So we're going to go with mirrored silver black, Neo blade grade, Neo blade length. This time let's just go with the 32-inch mid-grade Neo blade. Doesn't really matter. It's really just your preference and how you feel with balance and all that kind of stuff. Activation switch, we're actually going to switch it up and go with black activation switch here. Black activation switch, illumination. We're going to go with white to tie in that silver and the black accents. CoverTech wheel, we're going to go with mirrored silver just to match the hilt. Blade plug, Neochip, all that stuff, don't need it. $526 US before shipping. Now I call it Phasmatic, as you may have guessed, after Captain Phasma's armor. That's super cool, mirrored chrome. I really like that. There are black accents on her armor with the eyes and stuff like that, like a standard stormtrooper helmet. And there are black accents on the Vectra in the mirrored finish. As you can see here, there are little black accents here, the grip section here, little black accents in the inlets. But once you add the black activation switch, it gives the saber a little bit more balance on the hilt with the silver and the black. Now keep in mind that mirrored silver hilts and chrome hilts, and this goes for like a lot of companies, those are fingerprint magnets, so you will be able to see those much easier than you can with brushed silver. Now next is one that I'd like to call, you are on the council, but would you not grant you the rank of master? Some of you may be thinking, what? How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair. I'm more powerful than any of you. How can you be on the council and not be a master? And to that I say, take your seat, young Lando Sabers viewers. So this one's going to be using the Vulcan hilt, and we're actually going to go with FX in the configuration here, and you'll see why in just a second. We're going to go with the brushed silver finish. Sound font doesn't matter here. I'll mention in just a second. Just go with dark side. It doesn't matter. Blade grade, blade length. We're just going to go with like 36-inch. Mid-grade blade doesn't matter. That's up to you. Blade tip, we're going to go with parabolic. Doesn't matter. Once again, that's up to your needs. Activation switch, we're going to go with gold here to make it stand out. Gold activation switch, we're going to go with red illuminated. CoverTech wheel, we're going to go with brass, just like the activation switch. We're just going to make it stand out a little bit more. Blade plug, CoverTech clip, all that stuff not needed. Now this says $306 US as the subtotal. However, that's not going to be where we finish. So what you're going to do is once you're able to customize this on Sabertrio's website, it's not letting me add it to my cart because our sabers are not in stock, all that kind of stuff. So once it's in stock, you add it to your cart or whatever, you go back to store, and you go all the way down to the bottom, FX Saber Soundboard Upgrade, and that's the one that we're going to be doing for this one. So once you add this, that's an extra $85 on top of that, and I call it the you're on the council, but we don't grant you the rank of master, because it has the Crystal Focus 10 soundboard, but it's not a NeoPixel saber. So you can see what I'm getting at here. It's a funny little joke, but you know, whatever. Cringe, I know. The next one, and this one is called the Master Skywalker. There are too many of them. What are we going to do? And we're actually going to be using the Skylar hilt on this one, and this one will be a little bit more budget friendly. So we're going to go with the rechargeable stunt saber setup, saber hilt color and finish. We're going to go with mirrored silver black again. Remember, this is what the brushed silver black looks like. Had the mirrored silver black, it just looks so good. So we're going to go with mirrored silver black here. Blade color, we're going to go with royal blue. Blade grade, blade length, you can choose whatever you want. I'm just going to go with 32-inch heavy grade blade. Remember, a real Shoto blade or a real youngling blade would be much shorter than that, but if you're buying this for a kid or something like that, maybe a 30-inch or a 24-inch would be better. Those are shorter blades, just keep that in mind. Blade tip, doesn't really matter. You can go with whatever here. I'm going to go with parabolic. Activation switch, we're just going to go with gold. I like for it to have a little bit of contrast on the hilt. CoverTech wheel, when we're going to go with gold switch, we're also going to go with brass. CoverTech wheel, blade plug, whatever, don't need it. 193 US dollars before shipping for the Master Skywalker. There are too many of them. What are we going to do? I call it that because the slanted emitter on the Skylar just reminds me of the prequels for some reason. So I just really like that. And it is a basic hilt design, so kind of similar to something that a youngling would have. If you need any help on functionality, if you need any info on functionality, Sabertrio has a user's guide on their website, a bunch of guidelines, all that stuff for Neo Sabers, FX Sabers, Stunt Sabers, stuff about the chassis, removing the battery, all that kind of stuff. You need any help on that, just ask them, check out their website. They probably have answered it. There are a frequently asked questions section of their website. If you have any questions about sound fonts or anything like that, you can ask them. I have some videos on sound fonts and I have videos on customization for the Crystal Focus 10 Sabers. Just check those out if you need help as well. If you need to know what sound fonts they have included, they answer that on the frequently asked questions section of their website. However, it's not actually fully updated right now. It doesn't have some of the new ones on here. So if you want to check out my video on that, I'll leave it up there in the top right corner to go check that out. Those are all the sound fonts that come pre-installed. You don't have to do anything else. You can add sound fonts like I've added to my Saber, but those are the 20 that come included on the Saber right out of the box. If you have any questions about payments, remember they only take payment on their store through PayPal. For their ready to ship sale, they go through Etsy, so you'd have to check out Etsy's policies on payment. If you have any other questions regarding their site, their Sabers, their ordering process, anything else, feel free to ask them. Feel free to ask me. Feel free to ask any other Sabertrio owner out there. They are really, really good about their ordering process. Please keep in mind, as soon as their store is ready to open, please don't sit there and press refresh a million times. That'll likely crash their site. Their site has crashed multiple times because of stuff like that, amongst some other things. They've upgraded their web hosting, all that kind of stuff to try to alleviate that. But if you keep doing it, it still can crash the site. So please don't sit there and press refresh a million times. The store will be open for 24 hours except for the ready to ship sale, which will be on Etsy, but their main store will be open for 24 hours and will accept 1,200 orders. So please just take your time. You don't have to get there as soon as the store opens, but try to get there soon. Try to place your order. If you have any questions, ask Sabertrio. They will post live updates if they see fit on their Facebook page. If there's anything wrong with the website, if their order queue has been met, if there's any issues with anything, they will be posting it on Facebook, so keep that in mind. If you made it this far in the video, if you're interested in Sabertrio, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you all so much, and may the force be with you. Good luck on securing a Sabertrio Saber for yourself. I know you will enjoy it. Thanks.